the camera so you can talk a little bit about these three designs.
This is the evolution.
This is the evolution of a cover, and I should say that the way I work, partly by necessity, is the publisher really determines what the cover finally is
Ultimately.
like, and the authors oftentimes are very interested in it, and I don't blame them because they've been thinking about the book for 5 years. I've been thinking about it for 5 minutes. So
sure.
Anyway, we all work together, and we started off. This is the name of a famous mystery store. I'm sure everyone that watched the show knows that. They sent me a little picture of their store. They thought it was really cool. I thought it was cool. I didn't think the title of the book came out from the sign. So I went down, took some pictures, and I made a much more simple cover. And that was the start. They kind of didn't like it too well. It was boring a little bit. So I thought, well, let's get a little bit more of the store in the cover. So I put some bricks in the background. I put this wrought iron fence on the bottom because, at the store there's these wrought iron fences. It also gives a little sinister element to it, kind of. As we were talking here tonight, we kind of agreed that the text here is still a little boring. We could work with that. But they thought this isn't. They wanted to have a more modern look, and so they kind of they had a meeting today, and see, here's a little bit of that photo that they wanted to use originally. It's kind of been blown up so that this becomes a little bit like a title. That's the title of the book, and then all this other stuff is thrown on the bottom. Now, I haven't touched this yet. This is just something that I've been given, and I'm going to make that look better. But that's kind of the way the ideas get tossed around, and we approach. Not perfection, but just everyone goes home kind of happy.
If you had to say what the most important things to keep in mind as a book designer are, what would you say? Well,
I'm a big one for legibility, for one thing. I mean, I think that when people are living with their own book, the advantages, they know all about it. The disadvantages is that they have a hard time imagining what a person will think of it who's never heard of them and doesn't know what the book is about. And that's why the designer is in a kind of a good intermediary position because, I kind of know what the book is about. I might not have read it, but I've talked to the people and I've scanned it and I've looked at it a little bit. But I also can imagine what someone who's never heard of it, what are they going to have to see? To bring this out, what image, what size of type. Like I was kind of half joking, but these books with the really big names are kind of easy because the people are famous. And so the most critical thing is that everyone sees the name. We always used to say that when the name gets bigger than the title, that means they're on the downhill side.
Oh, really?
Is that right?
Yeah, if it's 50-50, if it's 50-50, you're at the
still,
peak.
okay.
Yeah, but once, the last James mentioned James mentioned this book, and it said, Loris Lvovia down here, but no one bought it, that kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
That's just a joke, but,
But who knows?
Yeah, right.
Could be right.
Well, you know what?
What?
We're running out of time. So we're going to have to thank you, John. I think all of us should remember that good communication with everyone involved in the packaging is important. Then those three things you mentioned, those three elements you mentioned, I think are really important. We'll be back in just a moment with more on book covers. Thanks, John. Oh, I already thanked John. I can't thank John again. I can thank John several times, but I won't. We're going to continue our topic and spend even more time now talking about our personal experiences, starting with a book called Iron Lake, and that means you're up, Mr. Kruger.
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about the evolution of the book design for my series and also the evolution of my relationship with my publisher. When I first was signed by my press, they asked me for input in terms of what I thought the cover of Iron Lake should be, my first novel. And I gave them ideas. It's dark, it's cabiny, it's a lake, it's moon, it's a lighted window, it's very dark and mysterious. And they said, this is wonderful, this is wonderful. And this is what they sent me. And I had no control over what the book design was going to look, what the cover was going to look like. Now, this accomplished a couple of things for them. The very vivid red at the center and the blue that surrounded it is, in fact, eye-catching. But it looks like a story that takes place in an ice cave in, like, Iceland or someplace. It has absolutely nothing to do with the story itself.
Along the St. Croix.
Right, exactly.
Or along the Lake Superior, maybe.
Okay, so over time, as my relationship with the publisher developed, I finally have reached the point where they listen to me sometimes when I make suggestions. Thunder Bay, this is actually my favorite book cover, and I like this cover for many reasons, not the least of which is that I actually had a hand in the design of it.
It's beautiful.
I think so too. It's an evocative cover. It really speaks to the setting of the book. It speaks to the atmosphere of the story itself, and I love that ruminative character on the front. Now, that was the initial problem with it. When they sent me that cover, that character looked like a little Irish elf, not Cork O'Connor. So we had to do some work in getting that changed. But I get a lot of comment on this cover from readers because it catches their attention, and it's very pleasant.
How about you, kid?
Well, when I first started writing, I was publishing with a small press. And when my first book came out, I liked it, but they didn't ask me anything about it. Second book came out, and it was a completely different look. It looked like a children's book, and so when I was in malls during Christmas, children would come up and want to know what the book was about. And I thought, well, that was a misrepresentation of the book. I suggested to them finally that maybe they ought to give the books a series look. And so they made the book so close that you almost couldn't tell one book from another.
You have to put your nose on it just
Right.
about to find out.
So, yeah, I mean, they took the suggestion, but, you know, there it is. When we sold the books to Ballantine, they came up with really my favorite book covers. I love I just love that look. I love there was always a strong face. It wasn't a completely cozy cover.
No,
it showed that there was a certain edginess to the book, and I think that reflected what the books were about. And those have consistently remained my favorites.
I have to cut you off because
okay.
we're running out of time.
All right.
That's it for this program.
Oh, what a fun time.
It was.
We could talk more about these kinds of things, and we're going to. So thanks, John. Thank Ellen Hart. Thank Kent Kruger. Thank all of you for watching. You can find additional information about us at our website, www.minnesotacrimewave.org. And there you'll find links to previous programs, learn about the books we've written, and you can also subscribe to our occasional newsletter. Questions, of course, and comments are eagerly received. Email minnesotacrimewave@yahoo.com. Be sure to mention the title or the number of the program you're writing about. This one happens to be episode number 20. See you next time. And as always, read more mysteries.